What's going on, everyone? So, the draft is vastly approaching, and even Shams himself has said that this is going to be a roller coaster of an offseason, that this might be one of the busiest, if not the busiest offseasons we have ever seen. You're already getting trades done, right? Orlando and Memphis did some trades. You got Kevin Durant, right? And there's supposed to be a lot of trades that may end up happening, a lot of movement that may happen at the draft night, right? On or around. Right? It's very possible that, you could get reports and news 2 or 3 days out, but it actually doesn't happen until the actual draft night. You have some teams that can't trade picks, but they can draft the guy and then trade him type thing. So, there's all kinds of scenarios and whatnot that could potentially happen at the draft night, right? Well, one of the teams that I would kind of keep an eye on is the Los Angeles Lakers, because there are several teams that the Lakers are linked to that also have multiple picks, right? A great example is the Brooklyn Nets. Lakers are after Nick Claxton. The general consensus is that Nick Claxton is probably the most likely center that the Lakers can acquire. And the Brooklyn Nets have 4 firsts in the first round along with the 36th pick. So they have nearly 5 firsts. I mean, it's about as close as you can get to the first round as far as the second round pick goes. So something that I've talked about is, the Brooklyn Nets and the Lakers, maybe they work something out to where maybe it's Nick Claxton and maybe they're getting the 27th pick. So they have like the 8th, the 19th, the 26th, and the 27th. I don't think that they're getting the 8th. Maybe the 19th, depending on what the Lakers would be willing to give up and depending on what the Brooklyn Nets want, right? And then also the 26th, 27th. I could see the Lakers definitely getting one of those, the 26th, 27th, maybe even both. And then, the 36th pick, maybe it's something where they move up. I've also talked about how we haven't heard any news really about the Lakers' 55th pick. At least at the time of recording this video, maybe something comes out depending on when you're watching this or whatnot, right? But we got reports that the Lakers worked out a couple guys a month ago, and then it's just gone static since then. Right? And it's just we're getting closer and closer to the draft. You would think the Lakers would be working guys out and doing their due diligence and whatnot. So are the Lakers including that pick in a type of trade, right? Maybe they go get Nick Claxton. Also, even if the Lakers don't get picks, you're going to have a lot of moving pieces and moving parts, right? Sticking with the Nets, for example. They might be looking hey, we're going to take this guy with the 8th pick, but we're going to take this center with the 19th pick. So let's get off of Nick Claxton now. Right? So maybe they end up pulling something off where the Lakers end up landing Nick Claxton on draft night, right? The Lakers could end up pulling off a move with a team like that. But also, if Shams is right, and there's a bunch of trades and a bunch of moving parts and a bunch of players going X, Y, and Z, and all these deals and whatnot are getting done, it is very possible that Lakers could, and I've talked about this heavily, and I think the Lakers should be, they could potentially be a team that's getting in the mix in some of these trades and being the 3rd or 4th team. Lakers, or one of their biggest assets, are their expiring contracts, right? For example, the Orlando and Memphis trade, right? The Lakers could have been a 3rd team in that and maybe have gotten KCP back. That would have been made a ton of sense, right? I know he's a little overpaid and whatnot, but Lakers are trying to win now, right? And he kind of fits the timeline as far as what you're trying to do. And he's only a year removed from being all NBA defense as well as shooting over 40% from 3-point range. And because he was playing alongside Nikola Jokic, right? I don't think it's a coincidence KCP's best years were alongside LeBron James and Nikola Jokic. And then he goes to a team like Orlando and struggles because they don't have playmaking to the level in which the Lakers and the Nuggets have, right? And now a guy like KCP could play right next to Luka and LeBron, right? It's just, it's a no-brainer to me, right? But point is that Lakers could look to be kind of that 3rd, 4th, maybe even 5th team in the mix, right? You're going to have teams that are going to have to, like Memphis, having to take on KCP's contract, right, as long-term money. You're going to have other teams and other moves where that's going to happen. And the Lakers could look at it as hey, we don't care that this guy's under contract for the next 2 or 3 years because we're trying to win in the next 2 or 3 years. This guy fits exactly what we need, exactly what we want, right? Miami, for example, if they're sending out Andrew Wiggins in a trade, right? The Lakers could, we'll just use random teams, right? Let's say Miami and the Nets pull off a trade, right? They're working on 3-team deals. And the Nets are like, we don't want Andrew Wiggins and his long-term money, right? Maybe the Lakers can work it out to where it's like, hey, maybe we can get Nick Claxton and we get Andrew Wiggins and we just send all the expiring contracts to, a team like the Brooklyn Nets, right? Maybe Miami misses out on Kevin Durant and everything, and they want Cameron Johnson, right? And it's like, hey, we want Cameron Johnson. We'll give you the assets for Cameron Johnson, right? We just think he's a better natural fit, whatever, right? And then they're trading Andrew Wiggins in the trade and whatnot. And it's like, well, we can't get Cameron Johnson, but we can get Andrew Wiggins and we can get Nick Claxton. And the Nets, they don't want to take on a bunch of long-term money. Well, here's all the expiring contracts, right? Plus, whatever picks and stuff like that go involved. And now the Lakers are able to get and solve 2 of their needs. It's those type of things. Again, those are just like examples, like on the fly off the top of my head. But I'm saying, like, it's that idea and direction, right? I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers end up just pulling off a trade naturally, right? Like, it's just like I said, it's Blazers trade or it's whatever trade or whatever, right? Like, it's very possible that something like that could end up happening and get done. But it's also possible that, again, Lakers could be part of multiple trades, or there could be this big expanded trade. Maybe the Lakers are, instead of the third team, are really kind of like the structured team, but there are multiple teams involved, and there's all these moving parts stuff. On draft night, you're going to have a lot of just congestion. You're going to have a lot of just teams trying to navigate stuff, and you have teams like, the Spurs have multiple picks and the Nets have multiple picks, and you have several teams that have multiple picks where it's like, we're really going to draft 2, 3, 4 guys in this draft, not counting second round pick. I mean, the Lakers might even be able to get multiple second round picks, right? Maybe you could do something where you're taking a pick swap and landing 2 second round picks, right? Because the team's just like, dude, we have like 5 seconds. Right? Like, it doesn't even necessarily have to be like a big trade. Obviously, I'd prefer if the Lakers could land an actual player or piece, but maybe it's just something to gain assets, right? Or maybe it's as simple as just moving up to the draft, right? Sticking with the Brooklyn Nets. Maybe you're taking the 55th pick, right? And a pick swap and something else, or maybe you're taking 2 pick swaps, because the Lakers have 4 swaps, right? How many teams are going to want the swap, especially with Luka? Those swaps don't have as much value as they would have if we had LeBron and Anthony Davis, where teams might look at that as like, that's the equivalent of like a first, right? But like, what if you could do something where you took 2 pick swaps and got the 27th pick and the 36th pick from the Nets, right? Like, maybe they want all this stuff for Nick Claxton, right? Or maybe you're adding that on as part of the Nick Claxton deal. Maybe you're doing the Nick Claxton trade and you're also giving it 2 more pick swaps and the 55th pick, and you're moving up to the 36th pick and getting the 27th. And now you have Nick Claxton, the 27th pick and the 36th pick in this draft, which then they could now go trade and maybe get another team involved. And it's like, hey, we have the 27th pick in this draft, we have the 31st, future pick, and then we have, 2 more pick swaps still, and they're going and getting that other piece or 2, and now it's a 3-team trade, and then the Lakers are drafted. Like, again, you got to get creative. I talk about it time and time. If you're Rob Pelinka, you have to get creative. You need to be in the mix. You need to be in these conversations, right? Patience is key. Patience is very important. I talk about that all the time. No trade is better than a bad trade, and I fully stand by that, right? I don't want to see the Lakers force a trade or force a move just to do that, right? Like, KCP isn't going anywhere, more likely than not, with Memphis. So I'm okay if they, it would have been fine if they would have gotten him, but, hey, let's see what else develops. Let's get into the offseason. Let's see what happens on draft night. Maybe there's a couple things we can get in, but the best way to be creative is to start getting in the mix of these things, because there are teams that have players that Lakers could really need, and they would probably never trade them to the Lakers, right? Like Andrew Wiggins from Miami, for example, using him as an example. Miami might not trade Andrew Wiggins to the Lakers because of LeBron James and Pat Riley's connection and all that stuff, but you might be able to get Andrew Wiggins as a 3rd-team part of a trade, because now Miami, like, hey, as long as we get the player that we want, we're getting the guy that we want, right? If they want, if, whatever, the Nets want to reroute Andrew Wiggins to the Lakers, that's on them. That's not us. Right? Like, again, that's ways you can do things. You might even be able to get players because, this team doesn't want to trade a player unless, Team A doesn't want to trade a player unless it's for a specific type. But Lakers just don't have that type. But this team has that type. But this guy has long-term money, and that team doesn't want the long-term money. So they're like, hey, we'll give you him and give us Rui Hachimura, and that's it expiring. And that guy makes more sense for the Lakers, and it's just a better natural fit, right? Like, again, get creative. Be creative. But don't be shocked if there's a trade for the Lakers on draft night, right? There very well could be something that happens immediately on draft night. But we'll see. Time will tell. Lakers got to get something done, right? I'm willing to be patient. They don't have to do it tomorrow, right? But at some point, we need to see some moves being done. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos. Truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.